Hey there, it's Shannon, and welcome to my Note by Year. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what my 2024 Note by Year is going to look like, what that is, why in the world would I do such a thing, and what my personal rules are going to be for the duration of this journey. My reasons for doing this are primarily one source, though there's a couple of different ones that are factoring into this decision. The primary ones are emotionally driven. My father passed away in the beginning of 2023, and I will not make this video a whole maudlin expression of grief, but suffice it to say that he was a really, really amazing father, and his early passing hit all of us like a freight train, and it's something that I have really struggled to process, and it just shook me to my very core. And because of that, I have been engaging in shopping and spending in a way that is not sustainable and healthy and ethical, and the way that I want to engage with it. So I think anyone who has experienced the loss of someone truly significant will understand this, but in the last year, with his passing and all of the things that come with it, so the wake, moving my mom out of their house, getting that house ready for an estate sale, having the estate sale, putting our childhood home up for sale and watching it sell, all of those things I have had a fundamental lack of control over. None of those things are things that I could ultimately control the outcome of. And because of that, I've been feeling a fundamental lack of control in every other aspect of my life. And I can tell that I've started to seek that in shopping and in having and in searching and scrolling and hunting for something to want and wanting something to want. And that is just not the way that I want to live my life. I am diametrically opposed to having that lack of control in my behavior and feeling like you black out and wake up $150 poorer from the thrift store, or you go somewhere with the intent of I'm not going to buy anything, and then you inevitably do, and then there's feelings of guilt. So that is my number one reason for engaging in a no-buy project and a no-buy year in 2024. Shopping as a coping mechanism to silence the cacophony of emotion and feeling in my brain is no way to live, and I cannot continue to live that way. And while the primary reason for me engaging in a no-buy year is behavioral over financial, I don't think anyone in this post-COVID world is completely ready to toss aside the financial implications of something like this. I think everyone nowadays is hyper aware of their finances, and the gap between what is and what could be is much smaller than it used to be. Thank you, inflation. And so I don't think any of us can really afford to just write off the implications of over shopping to fill an emotional void. It's something that the reality is that I am in a very privileged position where this has not damaged my life in any significant way. I can afford to do the shopping that I have been. Part of that is because my drug of choice, so to speak, is thrift shops and estate sales and vintage clothing in particular. And I love finding a good deal. I'm my father's daughter, after all. But those things add up. That's not something that can just be written off in a world where I have other things that I want to be spending my money on. I have tattoos and travel and other things that I want that money to go to. I want a back piece, and that's expensive. So filling my life with things that are less meaningful and expensive, or expensive once you add it all up and tally it all together, that doesn't make any sense. And that financial aspect is certainly a factor of this as well. The third reason for me doing a no-buy year is to counter excessive consumption in my own life and kind of the world at large. I think a lot of the ways that we engage in consumption in our world is thoughtless. And I really would like to bring back the critical thinking about purchases and the critical thinking about what I bring into my life that has been missing. And I am no exception to this thoughtlessness. I completely feel myself caught up in this cycle of searching and scrolling and deciding and discerning on if this is the right thing and looking for something to want if I can't find it, and then finding it and being excited and waiting for the package to come. And then once it gets here, it losing that spark and repeating the process all over again. Without really thinking about whether the item that's caught your eye is going to be something that improves your life in the long term, makes a difference in your day-to-day, holds your excitement for more than a couple of weeks. That longevity factor is really missing from my process at the moment. And too many of the items that humans buy and consume end up in landfills for me to be comfortable with what is, for me, an excessive level of consumption. I want to be excited about the things that I own and feel like they're enriching my life in some sort of significant way, as opposed to just this slapdash purchasing on a whim with no consideration as to whether what I've bought is going to be important to me long term. I cannot be the only one who's bought something and brought it home and realized this is just not going to work for me. I have sensory issues, so like scratchy wool or thick tags that can't be removed or things like that. I can't wear those things. I can't keep those things and use them. And if I've just bought something that's so scratchy that it's going to freak me out all day long, that doesn't make any sense. And yet, I've done it before. I think most people have. Let me know what you've bought that just absolutely didn't work for you when you got it home. Because I know that there's a variety of reasons that we do that, and everybody's been there. But I'm hopeful that by thinking more about what I'm buying and giving myself the brain space to take a break and then go into it more thoughtfully, I'll be able to do that successfully. Because right now it's just no thoughts, just vibes, submit. And I can't continue like that. And buying that scratchy top makes twice as little sense for me because it's important to me not to contribute to fashion waste. And thrifted things can contribute to fashion waste too. I'm not exempt from that because most of what I own and buy is thrifted. 97 to 98% of what I own is thrifted or vintage, and that's great. But 85% of all textiles end up in a landfill on a yearly basis. That includes thrifted items, and that's anywhere between hundreds and hundreds of thousands of tons of fabric waste a year, depending on your source. So it's important to me that the things I use are things that I will keep and will stay in my wardrobe for long periods of time. Now, I want to be clear. I am not a minimalist. I have never claimed to be a minimalist. In fact, I would say that I am a maximalist in just about every way that you can classify it. My home decor sense, my book collection. I'm not seeking to become a minimalist, but what I am seeking is to become a thoughtful maximalist and be a thoughtful consumer of goods in a way that I'm not right now. And I also want to be a consumer who's making the most of what they do choose to possess. And that brings me to the fourth reason for doing this. I want to enjoy and appreciate the things I already own. I love beautifully crafted things. I love beautiful things. I was raised by seamstresses, so there's nothing I love more than a gorgeous textile or quality workmanship. And I so appreciate quality workmanship that sometimes I buy things that may or not fit me right or may not be realistic for my life because the workmanship is so sublime. And I feel like somehow I'm going to appreciate it more than someone else who buys it. Ridiculous, I know. But I love beautiful things. But it's sort of like the law of diminishing returns. The more beautiful things that roll through my possession, the less the beautiful things I already have are appreciated. I want to be able to appreciate the things I own and take care of them in a way that honors them and honors the history that many of them have. And right now, that's not possible. Some of it's not possible because of the space. I know I have things that I'm not storing correctly or storing optimally. I have things that are squished next to other items or non-complementary fabrics, or they're getting creased because there's just not enough room to really hold all the things that are in this area. And that's not ideal. And that's not honoring these items or where they came from or their history. So I'm hopeful that by doing a no buy, I can really appreciate what already exists in my home and in my possession and in my closet and in my life. And I can make the most of those things in a way that will respect them the way they deserve and the way that I would like to do so. This brings me to the last reason of why I am participating in a 2024 no buy year. And this might be in some ways the most challenging. It runs in my family to have an overabundance of stuff. A love of collecting things, I would say, is a hereditary trait. We laughed about it with my dad in clearing out his shop. We would joke, nobody needs 24 ice chests or multiple broken oil pans or a tote full of wrenches. Not different size wrenches. Some of them are the same size. Some of them are different. Some of them are repeats. Who knows? Nobody needs what we had in that area. And it's, a bit of a joke, being a tool collector or a toy collector or whatever it is. But I think that cleaning out that shop sort of threw my own habits into stark relief. We'll call it what it is. This is hoarding behavior. And that's not something that I wish to carry into the next generation. I think that it can be difficult to admit when things like that are happening. And I think that my dad would say himself, that's what happens to a trailer trash kid growing up at many times in his life with severe poverty impacted him in these far-reaching ways, and in ways that I don't think he was always consciously aware of, but that I would like to be. So I need to address this because I can see these habits playing out in my own life. Can't turn down a deal. You gotta take it. It's a good deal. Well, yeah, I didn't technically need it, but you can't pass that up. Or what if this limited edition thing doesn't come around again? What if this eyeshadow palette doesn't come back? What if this incredible leather jacket isn't here the next time I come? That type of behavior is funny to joke about, but also is something I think it's important to keep an eye on, especially in a time of emotional upheaval. And I will say that someone who doesn't have that family history might not really understand the need to do a no-buy year, might not understand the need for such an extreme. I'm not someone who's ever been very good at moderation. I am usually a feast or famine type of person. Things tend to go all the way or not at all. So I think that I need this cold turkey time and space. I need to give myself and my brain a chance to reset its behavioral patterns. And that's not something that's going to happen overnight. That's not something that's going to happen if I give myself the leeway to fill that void with shopping in other ways and with shopping in slow, steady kind of increments. I think that I do need this cold turkey cutoff. I'm good at many things, and moderation isn't one of them. So that is why I'm doing something as extreme as a no-buy year. I think that that's what I need to do to reset my brain and my behavioral patterns. So that's what's going to happen. Now let's get down to it. I know everybody is probably thinking, shut up about the philosophical aspects of this. What are you allowed to buy? And the answer is not much. This is how my no-buy year will be defined, and these are my rules. Rule number 1, I cannot buy new to me makeup, skincare, clothing, accessories, fabric or yarn, books, or homewares. Rule number 2, if something is used up or broken or torn, I can replace it, but only if there is not already a sufficient stand-in existing in my collection. That means that if I tear out the shoulder of a black sweater, but I have a different black sweater that really serves the same purpose, I can't replace it. But if I don't have one, I could conceivably replace it. If I use up all of my red lipstick, never going to happen. But if I did, I could buy one to replace it. Rule number 3, I can buy gifts for others, but not needlessly to fill the void of shopping. So I can buy birthday and Christmas presents. I can celebrate someone with a Yule gift, but I cannot just go out and shop needlessly and justify it by saying, oh, it's for someone else. That's not allowed. Rule number 4, I can receive gifts, but not gift cards. Or rather, if I do receive gift cards, they have to be used on replacement items or saved for 2025. I can't just use them as carte blanche to go on a shopping spree. Rule number 5, this no-buy is only pertaining to items that are the catalysts for my coping mechanisms. That means that they are only the items that we talked about in rule number 1, the ones that are really causing these bone-deep feelings of discomfort, of regret, of panic, things like that. That means that I can buy food, I can buy experiences, travel, tattoos, without it affecting my no-buy. I can buy myself concert tickets or a massage, and it does not affect the no-buy. And I will be honest, I seriously debated on whether or not to include books and homewares in the ultimate list, the final no-buy list. And I did. You can probably see why. I ultimately did. The reason that I initially hesitated is because when it comes to home decor, I don't find myself reaching for those things. My husband and I buy a lot of home decor things together. It's something we enjoy. So I don't find myself searching for those things. That being said, I know myself, and if given the opportunity, if those other vices are taken away, I could easily see myself simply switching over to home decor and finding myself trolling at home instead of a thrift store on the way home. So I did decide to include those. And when it comes to books, I have a lot of books, obviously. I have read most of them. I have, but there are some that I haven't read, and I am a big rereader. So I've read the Mercedes Lackey series over and over and over again, her Elemental Masters series, her Valdemar series. Anyone who's into fantasy, look her up. But I also have a to-read list that's very long. I'm finishing the Wheel of Time series right now. I only have a couple books left in that series until I'm done. And then I'm also reading this one. I'm also reading Starting How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy by Jenny Odell to sort of kickstart my no-buy. So I'm really excited to get more into that one. But I have a list of ones, both nonfiction and otherwise. I've got a list of nonfiction books that I'm reading. I want to read Big Magic. I want to read The Highly Sensitive Person. I've got those on my list. I also would probably want to start either the Mistborn or the Stormlight Archive series. So let me know which one of those I should start first after I'm done with Wheel of Time. But all that to be said, I think that's enough to occupy me for a year. I don't think I need to buy more books. And that is not a sentence I thought I would ever say, let alone say to the world. So we're already making progress. But suffice it to be said that those items outlined in rule number 1 are what the no-buy pertains to. And those external experiences and tattoos and travel and stuff are not what the no-buy is about. The last rule is about making things. I am the child of seamstresses. I do know how to sew and make myself clothes. Can I make myself new things? The answer is yes, but I can only make myself things. My husband's letting the dogs out. I can only make myself things with fabric and yarn and items that I already have. I cannot go buy new fabric for myself to make myself something. So that is the list. That is all the rules outlining my no-buy year in 2024. There are a couple of caveats and considerations that I want to make space for as I go into 2024. The first is a health and safety type caveat. If I am going to Thailand, for example, my husband and I are hoping to go there, and I need to buy a specific type of mosquito repellent, I'm going to buy that. That to me is a health and safety requirement. If I were to go scuba diving and not have the proper gear, I'm going to buy that because it's about a safety thing. That being said, there are very, very few health and safety type situations that I can even fathom at this point. I live in an area with some pretty extreme weather most of the time. So I have clothing for hot weather. I have clothing and supplies and materials for cold weather. I should have most things. So We'll hold it open. If I need new glasses, for example, if my glasses break, I have to be able to see. So I will get new glasses if I need to. But those are really the only things that come to mind. The second consideration, I would say, is items I need for work. If I need to buy something for my day job, I will do so. I work a corporate job, and so sometimes there are things that I need. That being said, I have all of the things that I should need for work for a very long time. My work does do formal events and cocktail events on a semi-regular basis. That being said, I have been able to use that as an excuse to collect those type of items. And that means that I don't need to buy those items for at least the next year. I have enough cocktail dresses or formal event type wear that I can get away with not buying anything for at least the next year. At least. The last consideration is for rare, unique, once-in-a-lifetime type travel opportunities. My husband and I have been planning a Thailand trip for like 6 years and planning and saving for that. And we've been trying to go for years. We were supposed to go last year, and then last year went to hell. So we are going to try to go this year, and I'm not going to restrict myself while there. That being said, I am not going to be allowed to buy clothes for that trip specifically, unless there's some sort of health or safety consideration. And I cannot imagine a health and safety consideration at this point, but also I have a little bit of a clutch when I think about not buying clothes for that trip. That panics me a little bit. And the fact that it does is all the proof that I need as to why this no buy is necessary. I should not have to buy clothes for a 2-week trip. I just shouldn't. I have plenty of things to pack. I always pack more than I need when I go places. I only travel in carry-ons, for the record. My work always teases me. I only travel in carry-ons. By the way, if you know me from work, no you don't. But I only pack carry-ons, and I still have too much stuff when I go, so I shouldn't need to buy anything. But while in places like that, while in that situation, I won't restrict myself from buying things in Thailand because I will probably never get the opportunity to go back. So, something to keep in mind. So why publicize this journey? Why put it out there for people to see? The number one reason is accountability. I know myself, and I'm sneaky, but I also know that I am far more averse to deceiving other people than I am to deceiving myself. If left to my own devices, I think it would be way too easy to fudge the rules here and there, to not actually do it. And I think knowing that I've put this out there in the world, I've put this out there in the universe and put this energy into existence, I now need to follow through on that. And I think that if even one singular individual who I don't personally know, who I do know is wonderful too, but who I don't personally know, if one person lets me know that they are watching or listening or keeping an eye on me or doing something like this themselves or following along, I think that it will improve my chances of success exponentially. So I think it's something that I need to do to make sure that I complete the no buy. I also love YouTube, and I watch a lot of it. And I feel like, especially now in today's economic outlook and today's economic environment, this type of content is even more necessary. A lot of YouTube really feels like a condensed version of the home shopping network, right? Like just press submit, click the affiliate link, follow for more, and I would kind of like to put more of the thoughtful content that I would like to consume out into the world. I find that the type of content that I am consuming on a daily basis does have a noticeable effect on my daily behaviors. And maybe that's not a popular thing to admit, but when I'm watching hauls and things like that, my daily actions are different than what they might be otherwise. I'm probably buying more things than I would if I were consuming some other type of content. And when I'm consuming reduced consumption or slow fashion content, I am absolutely finding it easier to curb my impulsive spending, think more critically about purchases, and process what I'm consuming in a much more organic and thoughtful way than what I'm otherwise doing. So I think it's a good thing to have this type of content out there, and it will only serve to help me find the community that's going to hold me accountable as I go through this process. So with that, that's it from me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much if you got this far. I hope that you'll let me know if any of this resonated with you or spoke to you in any way. I am apprehensive about the year to come, but at the same time, I know that I can do it. I am in charge of my own choices and my own actions, and so I know I can do it, but I do think there will be parts of it that will be hard. But at the same time, I'm excited. I think that there is something magical about taking ownership of your emotions and your actions and manifesting the self and the circumstances that you want to see in the coming year. So here's to that. And here's to you manifesting magic in your own life. Bye now.